one statement, right? Once the stories are ready, it will be moved to the, I mean, sprint planning. You'll discuss that. So, I
Mm.
mean, uh, what, I mean, how do we determine on what basis stories are ready? How do we judge that?
Once we complete the acceptance criteria, right, and discussed it with PO, and PO has confirmed that yes, this particular acceptance criteria looks good. So that's when your
Okay.
stories are marked as ready.
Okay. So at that point of time, we are not seeing technical feasibility, right? It is just a discussion with the PO on the stories.
Um, See, it depends. If you are suspecting, so as a BA, we should be aware of what the product capabilities are, right?
True.
If you are suspecting that certain solution might not be technically feasible, or certain solution might need technical inputs, then it is always better to involve technical team upfront sooner than later, right? So there is no hard and fast rule that you will only show the stories to them during the refinement session or during the sprint planning only, right? So you take technical inputs to write the stories from time to time, uh, depending on your judgment and your understanding of the product. If you are if you just even have 1% doubt, do reach out to technical team, because it should not happen that you have done all the work and then technical team comes to you and say that this is not doable. Then you do not want to go back and start from scratch again. So
Okay.
it's better to start involving technical team upfront, or as soon as possible. If you are sure of the functionalities of product, if you know what the capabilities are, and you are sure that this is quite doable without I don't need technical inputs, then only you'll skip it. If you have even 0.01% doubt that technical inputs may be required, better to take them now rather than later.
Okay. So this all discussion happens before the refinement session, right? Grooming or refinement with the technical team.
Yeah, because your grooming and your see how I distinguish it. Other projects might be doing it differently as well. So when you so let's see the journey, right? So you have product backlog items, and then you look at the items according to the sprint goal, upcoming sprint goal, that these are the items I'll be working on. So I enter my acceptance criteria, and then I put my story into in refinement stage. Then I go to the client, I discuss the story acceptance criteria with the client, and if I have any questions, I'll ask the client and add them to the story, then and there. And then client confirms that yes, these requirements or these criteria look good. That's when I put my story into ready stage. Now, when my sprint is about to end, then I have a look at what all items I have in ready stage and move them to sprint backlog. And then during then I can have my grooming session with the team at any point in time. And when after I groom the stories with them, I ask them for effort estimation, and I add story points to my stories. It could be done in the same grooming session as well, or it could be story pointing can be done later by development teams as well. Yeah, so
Okay, that
that's how
helps. Uh,
the process usually looks.
Okay, so like in unlike in waterfall, we have design, coding, all that thing. So this all activity starts after sprint planning, right? The actual technical workout, all that things.
Yes, yes. So let's say my sprint is starting on Monday. So Monday morning, I'll be deciding with the team on what all items we will be doing in this sprint, depending on the team's capacity. And once I have decided, so Monday afternoon onwards, my team will start coding it. So let's say it's a 3 week sprint. So after first sprint or so, they'll give a drop to the QC team, and QC will start the testing as well within the same sprint. So BA sprint is usually one sprint, prior to my normal sprint, and QC sprint is 1 week later after the sprint.
Okay,
So
got
that's
it.
the usual followed. But ideal scrum is to even refine the stories during the sprint itself, which is not a very good idea in my opinion,
Hmm.
because you do not want to waste time while waiting for some information to come. Yeah. So let's say
Okay.
you start the refinement on the first day, and then you know that I need to know about this information, and then the person is on leave or the person is not available to give you the information. Then what will you do? You have already started your sprint, right? You can't do much. So what will happen is this story will be pushed back, and effectively what will keep if you follow this strategy, then effectively you will always be uh, doing an under deliver of your committed velocity.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So we have estimates only at a story level, right? In terms of story point. So do you have estimate at a feature level also?
Generally, yes. So before the project starts, right, how will you put the costing to the project? So
Hmm.
at that point in time, you rough t-shirt size estimates on your features, and then you give it to the client and say that this is feature wise rate list, which features you want, which features you think you do not want or are too costly and to be done later. Yeah, so it's kind of a shopping cart that you give to the client, right?
Right. So it's mandatory that, for example, if I have given five features and each feature has around say 200 story points of estimation, and when we do actual planning, our story point should be within that limit.
No, so that's the beauty of agile, right? So nothing is fixed, not even the estimates.
Okay.
You deliver as you discuss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Yep.
the idea of a feature-wise estimation is just to give a tentative idea to the client how much this feature will cost them. It could cost more based on your discussions, or it could cost even less, or you may even drop the idea. Yeah.
Okay.
So what, just one disclaimer, whatever I'm telling you today, right, or even in the previous sessions, is all based on my understanding or my experience. I
Correct.
may be
Correct.
wrong in certain areas, but yeah,
No, but it differs project to project also. Company to company might have other rules. I mean, that's what I have seen. Some might follow some other procedures.
yeah, yeah. I've not seen any company following exact same processes. Even
Correct.
in
Correct.
even
Correct.
in waterfall, people were having their own processes. Even in agile, people are having
Mhm.
their own processes. So whatever works well for them.
True.
Yeah. So I'm whatever I'm sharing is my
So your
uh,
experience and your project
my
perspectives.
yeah, my knowledge and my experience. Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah. Thanks, Parik, for joining us in the discussion. I
Mm.
urge others also to join in. SRK?
Hi, Shipra. Good evening. First of all, thank you for
Yeah.
conducting this session.
Yeah.
My question is like, what is the role of a business analyst in the Scrum ceremonies? So, yeah. So this is the question, and the second question is, so you mentioned that these Scrum ceremonies are a day-based events. So for sprint planning, what is the time period? Like, is there any time? So it can be for daily Scrum. We know that it will be conducted for 15 to 20 minutes like that. In a similar way, is there a time period for sprint planning or sprint reviews and sprint retrospective also?
Yes. So we have already talked about both the things that you asked, SRK. First question you have is role of business analysts in Scrum team, right? I've already answered it. So I'd like someone else to answer it this time. It will be quick check of who all were listening and who all were sleeping in.
Sorry for that because I joined a little bit late,
Yeah.
so
So no, thanks
I
for
might have
raising
missed that
it.
question. Yeah,
Yeah, no, you can always listen to the recording, and but still, thanks for raising it.
yeah,
Let
but
me also check. how many people were attentively listening in. So who will answer the SR's case question? Where are business analysts and Scrum team? No one?
No, absolutely, we are here. But since me and Chetan are taking initiative, so we would like to give a chance to the other participants. Otherwise, we'll answer that question to our understanding.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else will like to answer that question apart from Chetan and Tushar and me? Where are business analyst and Scrum team? Looks like Tushar, you only have to answer.
So no problem. So I can understand. So basically, when we're talking about the roles which are involved in the Scrum team, basically Scrum Master, Product Owner, and the third one role is from the developer team. So the business analyst falls in the third category with the team members other than Product Owner and the Scrum Master. So the third category where the business analyst exists in Scrum team. Details if Shipra can tell further.
Yeah. So thanks, Tushar. Yes. Um, I'm not sure. I think they started calling them as Scrum team rather than developers. But effectively, we have Scrum Master, PO, and the Scrum team, right? And BAs are part of Scrum team. Sometimes there are no representation from the client side or the product owner side or PO. So in that case, BA becomes the PO, and the Scrum team comprises of developers and testers team. Yeah.
Yes, Shipra.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
your second question was the time limit for each ceremony. Yeah. So let's
yeah,
start
yeah.
with sprint planning.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
I have repeated multiple times in this session how long the sprint planning session will be for a 2 week sprint. Anyone will
Okay.
like anyone will like to answer that now? For a 2 week sprint, how much will be sprint planning meeting time?
Eight
Around
hours.
around 2 hours.
2 hours?
No, for two sprint will be around 8 hours. For one sprint will be 4 hours.
4 hours. Yes, that's the correct answer. Thanks, Parik. So SRK, that answers your question. Sprint planning
Yes,
is 4 hours. Daily
yes.
Scrum. How long is daily Scrum?
It's
15
15
minutes.
minutes.
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Right. Sprint review.
Sprint, I don't
Uh,
know.
a hour or so.
1 hour session for sprint review.
Yes, I mean that happens if you end of the sprint, right? Before the end of sprint.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That happens towards the end of the sprint. It can happen mid of the sprint as well. But if you are
Mhm.
having 2 week sprint, how long will be your sprint review?
It may go for sprint review for 4 hours.
Um, just think of it this way: if you are doing a sprint review of 4 hours and then sprint retrospective of again 4 hours, then your entire last day of the sprint will be gone in the meetings, right? So
Okay,
it's
I'm
not.
sorry. If the length of sprint is a week, then it could be 1 hour only.
We are talking about 2 weeks sprint, right?
Yeah, then it will be 2 hours.
And 2 hours.
Yes. So 2 hours for sprint review,
Review.
and
Yes.
how long for sprint retrospective? Anyone?
45 minutes.
45 minutes for retrospective?
Yeah, 45 to 1 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is 2 hours, but you can check.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So basically, what we are saying is that once your sprint starts, right? So let's say it's Monday. So on Monday, you will be doing a sprint planning session um, for 4 hours. And Monday afternoon is when your work will start, right? Then on daily basis for 15 minutes, you will have your daily scrum,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
and
yes,
then
correct.
uh, 15 minutes for your daily scrum, and then you do 2 hours of sprint review for a 2 week sprint. You can do first review, 1 hour review after first week, and then another hour
Yeah,
after second week, or you can do a 2 hour session for 2 weeks. Yeah. So when we are saying 2 hours for sprint review, does not mean that you cannot close early and you have to just sit in the meeting and see each other faces. So if your review or the demo is done before that, feel free to close the meeting and get back to your work. But in so the idea is to time box everything. So when we are saying 2 hours of sprint review, it means the meeting should not extend 2 hours. It can be less, but it should not be more than 2 hours. Do not get so involved in the demo or discussions so much that you miss out that 2 hours timeline, and you keep on discussing and discussing, right? And
yeah,
everyone is
yeah.
listening in. And then sprint retrospective is again, at least 1 to 1.5 hours is a recommended time that you give. Because if
Okay,
you set up a half an hour retrospective, then you're not giving enough time for people to think, right? So the idea of retrospective is to make people think how they can improve on things, right? But
exactly.
so it's as a human, it takes us some time, 10-15 minutes to just get into the mode of thinking mode, right? So we are still thinking about all the emails which are pending our reply. We are also thinking about all the user stories we have to work on. We are also thinking about the demo we need to schedule, and so on and so forth, right? So, but we want people to come out of that thinking zone and start thinking about the processes, the processes which are running in the system. So that thinking mode transition itself takes 10 to 15 minutes, and sometimes longer for other people. It's not like you get into a meeting room and then you are like, okay, how can we improve the processes, right? You are not into that mindset, uh, mind frame to answer that question straight away. So that's why usually what people do is they'll ask you, okay, now we are towards the end of the sprint. Let's talk about what went well and what are the processes which we need to continue, right? And then we'll talk about what could have been made better, and then we'll take actions from this. Yeah. So sprint retrospective is usually, 1.5 hours.
One, yeah.
But again, as I said, if you can close early, do close early, but do not uh, miss this timeline, because otherwise you'll keep on discussing same things over and over again, right? And
Yeah,
there are certain discussions which cannot be ended. There are certain discussions which cannot be concluded either way.
correct.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
uh, if you are if you are if you are noticing that you are missing the timeline or time boxing, just say that, let's agree to disagree at this stage, and let's go back and think from a new perspective, and maybe the issue will get resolved tomorrow. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great, Shipra. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah,
So
thank you,
again,
everyone. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, thanks for joining as well. I
yeah.
hope you're not driving while
Yeah,
while
actually, I'm in the drive, but okay, but it's okay. I'm still listening. Yeah,
yeah, but please do not drive while doing other things.
yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining in. Vijay.
Yeah, hi Shipra. I was able to join the call just now.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm not sure if this question was asked earlier in this call.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. So my
yeah,
question, if no, the stakeholder comes with certain priorities set in, and if he wants all those to be prioritized, how would the discussion go, and who would be the who would take the final call of these requirements?
PO.
Be your product owner. Okay.
Yeah. So PO decides, right, what
Uh-huh.
which way to go for. So my product may be implemented for more than one client. My product may be implemented for 5 clients, 10 clients, right? And everyone
Mhm.
wants certain features in product so that they can implement them as well. uh, Implementation teams, if it is a very good product, right, then implementation teams are not authorized to make any code changes. So even
Mhm.
for small things, they need to go to PO of the product and say that, I want this, I want that. So it is possible that I have 5 clients, and everyone wants different things. I cannot have a team supporting 5 clients at a time, right? So I need to prioritize. Then
Mhm.
I take the final call as a PO. I take the final call on what features are topmost priority, right? And I cater into different factors. So which of these clients are my major clients, right? So I'll prioritize their requirements first. Which of the features they are requesting is beneficial to other clients as well, right? So
Mhm.
that those features will become priority. Which features are market worthy and other, it will help me sell out my product to other clients as well. So those features become priority. So for every release, I set up my release goals. I put them in statement of work, and as a PO, I tell them, this is what I'm going to deliver in this release.
Mhm. Yeah. So I got this question last week in interview, Shipra. So I told the same thing, but somehow it went wrong. And also on what all the criteria does a product owner think, for determining, which is to be prioritized, like some prioritization methods like Moscow or the capacity of the sprint, development team and the sprint duration.
So are we talking about requirement prioritization, or are we talking about sprint prioritization?
Oh, I mean, I'm just an aspiring BA, so I'm not very sure of what
And
all more information are there.
So there are two things, right?
Mm-hmm.
One, which features I want to work on. So those are my business requirements, right? So
Uh,
those are my features. So I
mm-hmm.
decide my features which I will be working on for the next 4 months or 3 months or 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Upfront
Mm-hmm.
before the project even starts.
Mm-hmm.
So my requirements prioritization happens prior to project start, and this is what I just told, that I'll be deciding based on which clients are asking for the requirement, whether my requirements are market worthy or not. Which requirements will help me sell out the product, which requirements will help me resolve problems of more than one clients,
Mm-hmm.
right? So based on those, I decide in my statement of work or PRD, or whatever document I have, that
Mm-hmm.
I will be working on these 5 features in the next 4 months or 3 months. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
based on when my release is scheduled. I can have quarterly releases, I can have half yearly releases, or whatever is my frequency of the release. So for that release, I'll be working on these items. Now then, my release is divided into sprints. So let's say I have 3 months release, then I have 9 sprints, right? Three each,
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks each. So at the end of 3 months, I'll be delivering this so and so feature. So uh, now I have divided my sprints. Now I decide for my feature number one what all my user stories will be, and then I prioritize those stories, and then I say, so my feature number one may have 60 stories, but then I can decide that out of these 60 stories, though I have prioritized feature one, but that does not mean that I have prioritized each and everything in that feature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I then also look at what is my minimum viable product, what is my MVP
Oh,
for
okay.
this feature, which
Mm-hmm.
what are the bare minimal user stories which will deliver value to the client.
Mm-hmm.
Then I prioritize those stories. Then I prioritize the MVP of feature 2. Then I prioritize MVP of feature 3. Right? I prioritize
Mm-hmm.
MVP of feature 4, and I prioritize MVP of feature 5. So that's
Mm-hmm.
how I prioritize. And then, in case I have capacity left, then I think about, okay, what other things I need, right? If I do not have the capacity left, then I'll say, okay, out of these MVPs, 5 feature MVPs, what else I can remove?
Mm-hmm.
So you decide based on that. So certain let's say there was certain story which was handling exceptions. So you know that exception handling is important, but the scenario in which that exception may happen is very, very rare.
Mm.
Then
Mhm.
then you deprioritize those things, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So that's how you uh, so Scrum is all about slicing and dicing, right? You
Mhm.
break each and everything into the minimum possible.
Mhm. So out of the 60 user stories in the like first release, we can, we can, if we felt that the all the 10, the first 10 features are very much important, we can finish those off first and then go on to the second one. Is it?
um no, so everything runs in parallel. So
Okay.
let's say there are 10 features in my backlog.
Uh-huh.
Then I bring 5 features into my release backlog. I say that,
Okay.
in this release, I'll be doing these 5 features. Then I'll
Mhm.
be splitting my 5 features into user stories. So let's say feature one has 60 stories, feature two has 60 stories, and so on and so forth, right? But I
Mhm.
know, depending on my team's capacity and my team's velocity, I know that I can only do 100 stories.
Mhm.
Then out of 60 stories each, I'll ask each of the feature owner to say, I'll say that I'll only do the stories which are 20 story points.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you give me those stories which are worth 20 story points, not more than that, not less than that. Yeah, even if it is less, than some other feature can be more, right? But my total work which I decide is 100 story points,
Mhm.
which matches
Okay.
with the team's capacity.
Okay.
So prioritization happens both at the feature level and at a story level, right?
Yes.
Uh, so the technique what we use both are common, or we have different techniques for both.
Um, yeah, you can employ common technique as well. So let's say you
Okay.
are following Moscow, right?
Mhm.
You are
Correct.
deciding which are these my must have or could have. So you can use that for features as well. You can use it for user stories. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, but for the feature prioritization, my audience will also include the stakeholders. It will be again dev team
Yeah. So everyone participates. Even the clients participate in prioritization.
of both features and stories.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
So, client may not be involved in a story. They can be involved. They may not be involved while deciding on the stories, right? Um, so, so there are two things that I look at, right? What is my business priority? And then I also look at what are my dependencies. So no matter how urgent a particular story is, if it is dependent on 10 stories, then those 10 stories needs to be done first, right?
Okay,
I
right.
can I cannot work on this story if it is a dependent story. If it is coming last. So let's say we are saying, if we take an example of Amazon, an e-commerce website, right? We are saying business priority is people should be able to make payments and get the items ordered, right? So that is my topmost business priority, that people should make the payments. but can I do this story? Can I ask people to make the payments upfront? No. I have to give them the function to search for the items. I have to give them the function to add those items to the cart. I have to give them function to confirm the order. Only then I can do the payment story, right?
Right.
So the all the other things which are not a business priority, but all those other things are important, are resolving my dependency, so they'll take higher priority than my payment story.
Okay.
Yeah, there are certain stories which require your technical POC. I think there is a term for it. I'm forgetting it. uh,
Spike.
Spike, right. Thanks for reminding. So there are certain stories which require a spike. Yeah. So you need technical POC to be done. But the team needs a specialized person to do that POC, and that person is not available. Can you pick this story? Can you prioritize this story? Answer is no, you can't, right?
True.
So, so there are various vectors which help you decide which stories to be picked up. So let's say your story um, is 13 story points or 21 story points, and your team's velocity itself is 25 story points. Would you rather do, smaller five story points item, five items, or would you rather do just one item? Yeah, if the velocity is
Hmm.
20. So that's the call you have to make. So it's always preferred that if you have heard of a weighted shortest job first, right? Just search for WSJF term. So the item which takes lesser time and gives you more value is always prioritized over other items.
Okay. WFGA, right?
Weighted shortest job first, WSJF.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So it says, this concept says, there is a formula there. You give time criticality, you give business prioritization, and then you take out the average or mean, and then it gives you a value. So there is a formula for it. But this helps you identify which item is giving me more value with within least time. So those items are your priority than other items. So as I take the example, there are five items which are giving you value of five each, so total 25. But then there is one item which is um, which is giving you an overall value of only 20 story points. Then this one item becomes least priority, right? Because you want to do those five items first.
Correct.
Yeah, so PO takes into account not only so when we say Moscow way of method of prioritization, it's just a method of prioritization. You just put in what are your must have requirements, what are your should have could have requirements, but this method only considers business priority. But when you are doing actual prioritization, you cannot just go by business priority. You have to take into account other factors as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those I just mentioned. Yeah.
Okay. I think you got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Uh,
that.
yeah, you're welcome. And thanks for asking the questions as well.
Mm. Also, Shipra, I have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is the product owner and the project manager are same? Like I know in Scrum we have only product owner.
Mm-hmm.
Do they play similar role? And when does the product owner come? Product manager, sorry, the project manager comes into picture.
Yeah, I have already
Okay.
answered this, Vijay. If you can
Uh,
go through the recording,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can.
I'll go through the recording then. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Thank
you can hear the complete explanation, but let me just quickly say there is no project manager in in Scrum team.
you. Yeah, yeah.
So there can be a project manager who is looking into the end-to-end project, like a program manager sort of person or a project manager sort of person, but they are not. When we are talking about Scrum teams and PO and Scrum Master, project manager does not have a role there. Sometimes project managers switch to Scrum Master roles. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
business analysts switch to PO or Scrum Master roles, right? But the role itself is different.
Mm-hmm.
Scrum Master's role is to resolve the impediments, but managing the project is the responsibility of the Scrum team, not one single person.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
And also, for one basic question.
Hmm.
So we have this because I'm very much new to the IT sector. So I just need some clarification on this one. So, for the term SDLC, it means software development lifecycle, and also we have PMLC, which is project management lifecycle, right? So, is SDLC part of subset of like PMLC or vice versa?
Uh,
Anything as such? Because in the project as project, obviously we have the planning, in initiation, execution, control, and closure, something like that, and also SDLC we have six phases. So I'm just now I'll be having a better understanding if you could answer.
mhm. So as you mentioned, right? So project management, PML, right? Life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about how the overall project will work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so initiation is basically when you are doing the discovery sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Planning, you are planning how many releases will be there, and then you execute them, and then you control them, and then you provide production support. So let's say there was a new implementation. So implementation will not remain as implementation, right? So once your project goes live, it becomes then it transitions to your production support,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then you get change requests in the implementation that you have done. So that becomes your new project altogether, right? So the project management life cycle talks about how the project will be managed when you
Mm-hmm.
will be moving to production support, when
Okay.
for how long you will be doing production support. Will it be a yearly activity, and then you ask the client to renew your contract every year, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how end to end the project will be managed, not just one particular release.
Mm-hmm.
So release after release, how it will be managed. That
Okay.
is project management life cycle. Software development life cycle is a different thing. It talks about how your software will be developed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say your project was you said that I'll be doing half yearly releases. So for 6 months you have release one, and then for next 6 months you have release two. So within this release one, right,
Mm-hmm.
how you will be doing the development? Will you be doing the development in a waterfall way, wherein you'll go back to the client and say that sign off the requirements, and then we'll code it, and once coding and unit testing is done, then it is delivered to QC team, and then you deliver it? Or you will be doing in release 1 and release 2 in an agile way, wherein you will be writing user stories, and then refining them and getting the story points. So what method you will choose for developing your
Mm-hmm.
software is your SDLC. So let's say for release 1, I'll be following waterfall, because I want my client to conform on the requirements. But
Mm-hmm.
in release 2, I'll switch to agile. I'll switch to Scrum.
Mm-hmm.
In And then at the end of release 2, I'll move to production. So I'll manage production support using Kanban.
Mm-hmm.
So Kanban says first in, first out. So whatever tickets comes in first, you sort out that first. That you know piping pipeline sort of thing happens in Kanban. So you can decide different ways of handling different releases and different aspects of your project management. Yeah. So does that help you clarify? So basically, PML is a parent, and
Okay.
SDLC comes under as a.
Yes, yes, it's clear now. So, SDLC is part of PMLC, we can assume.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And also, when we say SDLC, software development, is it only it's called as software development only because something is being developed, or also an implementation is also called as SDLC? Can that also be regarded as that?
So SDLC is an old term, right?
Okay.
So it was coined, 10 years, 15 years back, wherein we
Mm-hmm.
were doing the development of the things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that time, uh, the concept of product itself was not there. So even the products which were getting developed, they were, looked in the same with the same lens of a development project,
Mm-hmm.
right? But later
Mm-hmm.
on, people started recognizing that product development is very much different from an implementation, or a CR sort of thing, or maintenance sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So SDLC was used to define different ways where in which you can develop your code, right? And then agile was is agile came in, and agile says, I'll give you a framework. It's a recommended framework. It's up to you if you want to follow it or not. So uh, SDLC was sort of a methodology in which they kind of dictated things. Agile is which came in was kind of a framework sort of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm, yeah.
Um,
Mm.
we are very close to